Today is Wednesday, Chof Tevis. It's the outside of the Rambam, as a matter of fact, I believe. Okay. And we are starting a brand new Maimer on page Nun in Teiras Menachem Sefer Mamarim Tovshin Yud Aleph Tovshin Yud Beis. Page Nun, and it's the title reads B'Siyata D'Shmaya Shabbos Parshas Shmini Parshas Poro Mevorach Machedesh Nissen Hey Tovshin Yud Aleph. And here we go. This Maimer, as it says right underneath this title, is Hanocha Bilti Muga. It is an unedited transcript, as opposed to actually the previous Maimer that we learned, which was edited by the Rebbe. Vayedaber Havayel Moshe V'Aaron Leimer. In the opening verse of Parshas Poro, which is actually the first section of Parshas Chukas, right, where it talks about Paro Aduma, the red heifer. Yeah. So the Torah begins by saying, "Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe v'Aaron leimer," and God spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, "Zos Chukas Hatorah." This is the statute of the Torah, Asher Tziva Havaya, that God commanded, Gomer, etc. What is it? V'yikchoy lecha Paro Aduma Gomer, and you shall take to you a red heifer. Now immediately we see a few anomalies. First of all, it says Havaya twice. Right? Vayedaber Havaya el Moshe, Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe. Hashem spoke to Moshe and to Aaron. And then it says, Zos Chukas Hatorah Hashem. This is the instruction that God gave. That's a bit of a strange turn of phrase, because God is speaking. He's not talking about somebody else giving the instruction. He's talking about himself giving the instruction. Why is it necessary, good morning, why is it necessary to repeat Asher Tziva Havaya? Could have easily said Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe v'Aaron leimer, excuse me, Zos Chukas Hatorah v'yikchoy lecha Paro Aduma. The second Asher Tziva Havaya seems to be completely superfluous. Right. The other question is, why does it say Zos Chukas Hatorah Asher Tziva Havaya? He's speaking. God is speaking. Right? And it should have said, Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe v'Aaron leimer, Daber el bnei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people and tell them this is the laws of Paro Aduma. And it doesn't say that. And in fact, the Rebbe asks these two questions, but in the other order, not in the order that I asked them. We need to understand, no, actually he asks it in the order that I said. We need to understand Tam Kfal HaLoshen, and the reason for repeating the expression Vayedaber Havaya Gomer Asher Tziva Havaya. Why does it say twice Havaya? Hashem spoke. This is the commandment that God gave. He should have said Vayedaber Havaya Gomer, and Hashem spoke. Daber el bnei Yisrael Gomer, speak to the Jewish people, etc. This is actually a third question. The Rebbe is asking, why does it say Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe v'Aaron leimer? This is the normal phraseology in the Torah when it comes to a mitzvah, right? For example, let's take something that we were accustomed to. In Birchas HaShachar, when we say the Birchas HaTorah, before we say Yivarechecha, Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe leimer, Daber el Aaron v'banav k'esav baruchos b'nei Yisrael. God spoke to Moshe saying, speak to Aaron and his children, this is how you should bless the Jewish people. It doesn't say, Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe leimer, Zos ha-mitzvah asher tziva Hashem, Daber el Aaron v'banav leimer. And God spoke to Moses saying, this is the commandment that God instructed, speak to the children of Aaron. Right? What does it say by tzitzis? You have a siddur there? In Parshas, in Shema, at the end, the third. Sorry? Yeah, but how does it open? It opens up by saying, Vayemer Hashem al Moshe leimer, Daber el bnei Yisrael. Right? It doesn't say again, this is the mitzvah that God said, speak to the Jewish people. Right? This addition, Zos Chukas Hatorah Asher Tziva, he already said it. Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe. Right?
Well, but we're talking about a specific mitzvah here.
Okay, but all the mitzvahs are specific.
He spoke to him and he said, this is the principle, or the chuk, these are the chukas.
Which is Hashem is commanding you. So it's
Every mitzvah is specific to that mitzvah. If it's only a merely, obviously the point is that there's an added emphasis in the mitzvah of Parah Adumah, which we don't have in any other mitzvah. That's the point, right? That's the idea behind the question. That the fact that he's, like, you're right in saying that, obviously he's repeating it again because it's a special emphasis. It's like saying, this is what God commanded. Almost like saying this and nothing else kind of thing. You know what I mean? Or this is special. This is special. But it's obvious that this phraseology is unique among the commandments and the mitzvahs. That's number one. But so again, we need to understand the reason for the repetition of the expression Vayedaber Havaya Gemer Asher Tziva Havaya, and God spoke and God commanded that God commanded. But how about the Mamar? It should have said Vayedaber Havaya and God spoke, Gemer etc. Daber El Bnei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people. And they should take to you. They should take onto you a red heifer. Question number one. It's another question. Why does it say twice Havaya? And it doesn't say Vayedaber Havaya Gemer and God spoke. Zos Chukas Hatorah Asher Tzivisi. This is the commandment of the Torah that I commanded, that I instructed. It makes sense to say Asher Tziva, that someone so commanded.
I commanded.
If I'm talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
In other words, if Moshe would be speaking and say Vayedaber Moshe b'nei Yisrael, Moses spoke to the Jewish people and he said, this is the mitzvah that God commanded. But for God to say, and God spoke to Moses saying, this is the commandment that God commanded. Doesn't follow.
what does Rosh Hashanah? Sorry. The command? The last word.
V'kayotze bazeh.
Oh.
Or something similar. V'hinei b'medrash Isa, in the medrash, it brings on this mitzvah, Parah Adumah, it says like this. Omar Shloimeh, King Solomon said, Al kol eila, on all of these, all of what? Kol shar mitzvahs haTorah, all the rest of the mitzvahs of the Torah, omadati. I was able to, the literal meaning of the word omadati means I stood, but it means to say I was able to stop there and stand there in the sense that I was able to get to the bottom of them. Shehisik taimehem. Shlomo Melech was able to comprehend the reasons for all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Parshas Parah Adumah, but when it came to the portion of Parah Adumah, to the mitzvah of the red heifer, Chukarti, I investigated, V'sha'alti, and I asked, Upishpashti. I believe the definition of the word Pishpashti is I have rummaged, which means to say I tried as hard as possible to get to the bottom of it, to get to the reason of it. Omarti achakma. It says in Ecclesiastes, King Solomon says, I said, I shall become wise, but she was distant from me. What does that refer to? That refers to the mitzvah of the reason for the mitzvah of the red heifer, where he said, I tried as much as possible to become wise, to understand the reason for it, but it remained distant, it remained elusive. The reason remained elusive. What's the meaning behind it? It means to say that Parah Adumah is a chukah. It's, if you remember, we discussed in one of the previous students that mitzvahs are divided into three categories. There are mishpatim, edus, and chukim. Mishpatim are mitzvahs that are understood. We would have understood them even if we would not be given the mitzvah. For example, like the civil mitzvahs, honoring your father and your mother, not killing, not stealing, etc., etc. Then there are edus, mitzvahs that are like memorials. For example, Shabbos, oisi, it is a sign that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. Sukkah, Pesach, and so on and so forth. Once we're told to celebrate these festivals, we understand why, to mark these moments. Then there are chukim. Then there are mitzvahs that are beyond our comprehension. Parah Adumah falls into that category because there are a number of anomalies in Parah Adumah which contradict each other. On the one hand, it purifies people. On the other hand, the people that are involved in the process of preparing the red heifer become impure. So there are a number of contradictions in this mitzvah which, and in general, the whole idea of tumah v'tara, spiritual purity and ritual purity and impurity, is a chukkah. It's esoteric. It's intangible. It's not like that you're dirty or you have to wash yourself or anything. There's no obvious change in the person, right? Neither this way or the other way. Neither when he's tameh or when he becomes tahir. So it's a chukkah. So obviously, because it's a chukkah, because it's a mitzvah for which we don't understand the reason, it's beyond human reason. That's why Shlomo Melech said, I can't comprehend it. I wasn't able to reach the reason for paradum. So the Rebbe asks the question, paradum is not the only chukkah. There are other chukkim. There are other mitzvahs that fall into the category of chukim, mitzvahs that don't have an obvious human intelligent reason. Why specifically, when it came to paraduma, was it so elusive? What about the other chukim? Why this chukkah was elusive? Why is this in the category of on its own, even within chukim? We need to understand, among the mitzvahs of the Torah, there are other mitzvahs that are, excuse me, within the bracket, within the kind of, that are also chukim, and identified as chukim. With what is the mitzvah of paraduma uniquely different? Why is paraduma different to the extent that the reasons for all the other mitzvahs, including all the other chukim, Shlomo HaMelech did comprehend. The dafkal paraduma, and specifically when it came to the mitzvah of paraduma, Amari said, she is distant from me. That the reason for paraduma remains elusive. Why specifically concerning the mitzvah of paraduma did Shlomo HaMelech say that the reason for it remains elusive, and not any other chukkah? The Eid, even more so, to emphasize this question even more, says the Rebbe Isa the Medrash brings ala posik v'yikhu elecha. If you look at the wording, what does Hashem say to Moshe and Aaron? V'yikhu elecha, they should take onto you, in the singular, elecha, to you. Who is that? Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, that the mitzvah of paraduma is somehow linked to Moshe. V'yikhu elecha, they should take onto you a red heifer. What does that mean? They should take onto you. They should bring to you a red heifer, and then it should be prepared, right? But specifically, v'yikhu elecha, right? Means to say that there is something in connection to the paraduma which was unique to Moshe, uniquely connected to Moshe. Says the Medrash that although the reason for the mitzvah of paraduma remains elusive and unknown, even to King Solomon, nevertheless, to you, Moshe, I will reveal the reason. Medrash says, the Rebbe brings it in brief, but the Medrash goes on and says over there that when it came to the mitzvah of paraduma, niskar kemupanov shel Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu's face, I believe, turned green. In other words, he had this. He was lost. So God said, "What's going on?" He says, "I don't understand. I don't understand the reason for this. All the mitzvahs I understand. Paraduma I don't understand." So Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, "L'cha ani megal l'tam parah." To you, I will reveal the reason for paraduma. So what do we see from this? There's something else that's brought in the Medrash, says the Rebbe, on the pasuk, and they should take on to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, L'cha ani megala ta'am parah. To you I am revealing the reason for the heifer, for the red heifer. Aval la'acher chukah, but for somebody else it remains what? Chukah, a mitzvah beyond reason. The Gambas etzarech bir, says the Rebbe, even in this we also need additional explanation. Why? The mashma mizeh, it seems from this, the b'shar chukei HaTorah yesh eid she'edin tameim, that concerning all the other statutes of the Torah, there are those that know the reasons. Al kol panim yichidis gula. At least who? Special people. Why? Because what does the Medrash say? By paraduma, the Medrash says, to you I am revealing the reason for paraduma, and the Medrash does not stop there and carries on and says, but for someone else it remains a chukkah. So it means to say that paraduma is unique in the sense that specifically concerning paraduma, only Moshe Rabbeinu has been revealed Hashem revealed to him the reason, but everybody else, he did not. What about other chukim? There are others also that the Eibishter revealed the reasons. Vim kain, therefore, it's not, it's not understood. Madua dafke mitzvahs paraduma einen jeden taima. Why, concerning specifically the mitzvah of paraduma, does the reason remain unknown? V'rak l'meishin is galataima, and only to Moshe was the reason revealed. From the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu emphasizes, as the Medrash says, that to you I'm revealing the reason for paraduma, for the red heifer. But for everybody else it remains elusive, it remains beyond their comprehension. What does that imply? That paraduma is in a class of its own. In the sense of what? Of remaining beyond human reason. Why? Why specifically paraduma? So this is the opening. Chapter 2, Ois Beis. Va'inyan hu, to explain this, the Hinik Siv, it says in the Pasuk, in Ezekiel, in Yecheskel, chapter 1, it talks about Ezekiel's famous vision, where the heavens opened up, on the river Kvor, and he saw, Mare Salikim, he saw the visions of God, of godliness, and he speaks about the four the four faces, the Merkava, the chariot, the godly chariot. So he says over there, "V'hachayos rotzoi v'shoiv," and the living beings that he saw in his vision, rotzoi v'shoiv, they're running and they're returning. This idea of rotzoi v'shoiv is language that's constantly repeated in Chassidus. The Apirish HaPoshut, what is the simple meaning of this? What's the interpretation? The Koy al Chayis HaKodesh, this refers to the holy living things. What does that mean? This is a level of angels. We say in davening every morning in Bechas Krishma after Hashem. What do we say? V'hoifanim v'chayis hakodesh b'ra'ash godol misnasim lumas asrofim lumasam mishabchim v'imrim. Right? It's part of kedusha. We say it in the blessings of Kriya Shema. We also say it in kedusha. And the ofanim and the holy chayot, with a mighty sound, rise towards the seraphim, and facing them, offer praise, and they say, Baruch Ved Hashem Imkeimei, and so on and so forth. Right? What are we talking about in Kriya Shema? We're talking about the kedusha that the malachim say. The praises of God that the angels declare to Hashem. Right? So Chayis HaKodesh is a certain type of angel. So the simple meaning of this pasuk is that Ezekiel saw these holy angels, and he said that Shehem b'bchinas rotzei v'shoiv. They run forth and they return. Omnam, however, yesh oik pirush b'zeh. Rotzei v'shoiv literally in this sense would mean they run towards the levels of godliness which are beyond them, and then they return. This is what the malachim do. Rotzei v'shoiv. Omnam yesh oik pirush b'zeh, says the Rebbe. There's another definition to this. Shekoi al ha'oir v'chayos eliki, that the reference of Chayos HaKodesh doesn't only refer to what? To the angels that are called the holy beings, but rather it refers to the godly life force. We know that every living thing, all of creation has a godly life force, a godly energy that constantly has to be present within creation in order for the creation to continue to exist. In other words, the creative process is fresh and new every moment, just like God, just like as it was in the 6 days of creation, in the very beginning. So this godly energy that clothes itself, that is present within creation at every moment, and in all creatures at every moment, is rotzoi v'shoiv. Rushes forth towards its source and returns back to where it is. Much like the breathing of a human being. Right? The world also breathes. And all the worlds breathe. Ushnei hapirushim eila b'kana echad, says the Rebbe. These two definitions of the verse, v'achayis rotzei v'shoiv, and the chayis are rushing forth and returning, both go up in one stem, in one branch. Meaning to say, they both have this, they go along with each other. Why? What is the reason for the holy beings, the angels, rushing forth and returning? Who? That is as a result of the fact that the godly life force that creates and gives life to all worlds, to all realms, is also has this characteristic of Rotzoi V'Shoiv. Rising up, leaving, being drawn to its source, and coming back. And therefore, this life force, this godly energy that gives life to creation is in all realms, in all worlds. From the beginning of all levels to the end of all levels, meaning the very highest levels and also the very lowest levels. Included in creation, and the life force that gives life to creation is included also Gam HaMalochim, also the angels, Shenikru Chayis HaKodesh, which are called the holy beings, which Yecheskel saw in his vision. And since every activator will cause that which is active through him to operate according to him. So in other words, who is the cause of air? Who is the operator? The Chayis Haliki, the godly life force. What is the result of, what is he operating? What is he causing to be and to operate? The realms, the worlds, included what? Including also the angels, the Chayis HaKodesh. So therefore, since the result of the activator is in line with him, therefore, therefore the godly energy, the godly life force that gives them life, these Chayis HaKodesh, these holy angels, it affects them. He affects in them that they too should be in a manner of what's called ebb and flow. Okay, going out and coming back. So this is concerning the angels that Yecheskel saw in his vision. Also, the lower creatures who appear to be something separate, a separate existence from Hashem, like us in this physical world, the angels are obviously connected to God. The angels, when you look at them, they are obviously aware, and when one observes them, one can see how they are connected to God, that their whole entire existence is what? Is godliness, is Gettlichkeit. What about the lowly creatures who appear to be separate from God, as it is in our physical world? They too, they also possess this characteristic, this nature of leaving and returning. This is the idea of the heartbeat. The blood being pumped out and the blood being drawn in through the beating of the heart.
It's like the template we were talking earlier.
Correct. Yeah. And that's the idea, in fact, of breathing. And I think I read someplace, I'm not a scientist, but I believe that the universe, in the seasons, there's a contraction and an expansion, depending on if it's in the winter or in the summer. And it's got to do with the oxygen and with the trees and the greenery and so on and so forth, which is, I guess, the world's collective breath, if you will. You find this idea of the Rotz V'Shoiv, like you say, as a template, all through the process of creation. Human beings, animals, breathing, as we just described, which is connected to the heart, and so on and so forth. What is the difference between us and the angels? If that's the case, what was the point of Yecheskel, Ezekiel highlighting this idea concerning the angels? There's a difference between the creatures down here and the holy beings, the angels. The holy angels and also all the celestial creatures who feel consciously the godly life force and energy that gives them life. And therefore they also feel what? The drawing of the life force towards its source and its returning, the Rotz V'Shoiv process. So it feels its life force and it feels this constant process of Rotziv Hashev, which is within the godly life force, by them, this idea of being drawn to their source and coming back, this is revealed. You can actually see it. Whatever sight is, you can observe it, obviously in the spiritual sense, but it's observable. However, when it comes to the creatures down here, who, as we said before, are created in a way of yesh and metzias, they're created in a way that they should be seen as what? They should appear to be separate from godliness, from God. By them, by these creatures, this idea of Ratzav Hashev, leaving and returning, is concealed. What does that mean? It's concealed. We just said that when you feel the heartbeat, it's obvious. This is the idea of the heartbeat. So the Rebbe explains. Which means to say, to clarify, in matters which is not dependent on the choice of the creatures down here, the involuntary functions, for example, the heartbeat. These creatures also possess the idea of Ratzav Hashev, leaving and returning. But in matters that is dependent on their work, on their serving Hashem, they have to choose those matters. They do not possess, in a revealed way, this idea of Ratzav Hashev, leaving, being drawn to Getlachkeit, and then coming back down into their natural state. So this is the headline, and tomorrow the Rebbe is going to get more into this idea of the Chayes of the key, the godly energy.